לא, יש אנשים שממתינים בחדרים.
בסדר, כן, בסדר, אני אתן להם להיכנס, אין שום בעיה.
כן, בינתיים אני נתתי להם, אבל בסדר.
אוקיי, אין בעיה.
All right, good. So, 1 second. All right, good. So, shalom, everybody. I'm very happy to see all of you again. So my first question is, everyone hears me? Just
כן, זה בסדר, רק אינטרנט שלך הוא חלש, בינתיים זה בסדר, אבל תשים לב, אם אני אכתוב לך משהו, הוא יגיד אם זה יהיה עוד יותר גרוע.
אוקיי. מה חלש? אני נתקע או משהו?
כן, הוידאו לא זורם חלק, וגם התמונה בכלל היא תמונה קטנה, הוא מקטין רזולוציה כשהוא רואה שהשידור ברזולוציה באינטרנט חלש. בינתיים זה סביר, אפשר להמשיך. זה חזר. יש ירידות, הקיצור אתה יכול להמשיך, אבל תשים לב אם אני כותב לך ואם אני אגיד לך משהו.
אוקיי. So shalom again, and I'm very happy to be with you again. I have a question first. My friend Rabbi Shai, he gave the shir this morning, right? What was he talking about?
He was speaking about, he's given a four cycle shiurim about halacha decision making in the modern world. Basically, are you allowed to do? So it had nothing to do with Assara B'tevet.
Very good. Okay. So the shir today, thank you, Aaron. So the shir today is, as you've seen, is about Assara B'tevet on Shabbos and Erev Shabbos. So if we think about it, intuitively, I'll first open the question. First, I want to clarify that. Let's start with the focus of the shir will be about Assara B'tevet that falls on Shabbat. Now, I want to clarify that seems to be it's now not a practical question, because according to our Luach, Assara B'tevet never falls on Shabbat. Assara B'tevet will never fall on Shabbat according to the calendar that is established since the days of Hillel. Once we have an established Luach and the moon is not sanctified by witnesses, rather the moon, the Rashi Chodashim, there is like a set Luach, then we know that Assara B'tevet never falls on Shabbat. But previously, at the time of the Mishnah, when they were sanctifying Rosh Chodesh according to witnesses, during that time, then Assara B'tevet could have fell on Shabbat. Okay? Only now, when we have a set Luach, a set calendar, then Assara B'tevet is never on Shabbat.
You are frozen.
Okay. I understand, and unfortunately, I can't help it. Meaning, I guess because of the weather, there are problems here in the neighborhood, and we'll have to manage with this. I have no control over getting frozen or not. Okay, so I apologize. This is the network I have. I hope we won't have this too many times. So I say again, what's unique about Assara B'tevet, if we compare it to other fast days, I mean the fast days of the 17th of Tammuz, the Shabbat, Tzom Gedalia, all of these fast days never happen to occur to fall on Friday. They're never on Friday. Whereas this year, and also in Tafshin Ayin Daled, meaning 7 years ago, Assara B'tevet happened on Friday, okay? And it's very interesting because when we fast on Fridays, when we're fasting on Friday, that means that Kabbalah, Shabbos, and Mariv are doing it with an empty stomach. I've seen 7 years ago, I got a WhatsApp in the name of some rabbi. Now it's not halacha l'maisa what I'm telling you, but they brought that there was a certain tradition by a Rishalmer that when he came back from shul tomorrow, yes, Assara B'tevet is tomorrow. When he came back from shul on Kabbalah Shabbos, so he said, we're not singing Shalom Aleichem. We're going straight to Kiddush and the meal. And we'll sing Shalom Aleichem or only during the meal, because we want to minimize the time that we fast on Shabbat. By the way, I said that in my Friday night Russia 7 years ago. I stood up to the pulpit and I said, we're all fasting now. There is a story by Rishalmer that he was not even singing Shalom Aleichem before the meal. So I guess it's time for me to be silent now and let's go daven Mariv. And that's what we have done. Because I want to minimize the amount, the time that we're fasting on Shabbat. I'm stressing that it's not halacha l'maisa. We're all allowed to sing Shalom Aleichem before the meal. Yeah, there's no halacha that says that every minute is significant. We're not allowed to fast on Shabbat, but if one has 2 extra minutes or whatever, that doesn't mean that he violated or anything. You could say with a smile that this person, this Yerushalmer who said we won't sing Shalom Aleichem because we want to minimize, we shouldn't fast on Shabbat, and we're now coming fasting, perhaps he was just hungry. Okay, but what we see here is that I want to again repeat that according to the luach that we have, there is Assara B'tevet never happens on Shabbat, as opposed to Tisha B'av and Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, that we all know that sometimes the 9th of Av and the 17th of Tammuz do fall on Shabbat, according to our calendar. In such a case, when do we fast Tisha B'av and the 17th of Tammuz? It happened last year, I think. When do we fast when Tisha B'av, when 9th of Av happens to occur on Shabbat? Not everyone together. When are we fasting?
Sunday.
On Sunday, yeah. If the 17th of Tammuz and the 9th of Av are falling on Shabbat, we're fasting on a Sunday. And why is that? Because the Gemara says that we're not earlying a bad thing. Akdumei pur anuta lo makdiminan. We're not earlying. We won't fast on a Thursday, for instance. Yeah, we won't fast on a Thursday prior to the 17th of Tammuz, or we won't fast on a Thursday. Let's say the 9th of Av is on Shabbos, so we won't fast on Zayin Av. Rather, we'll fast on Yud B'Av on Sunday. And the Gemara gives the reason that Akdumei Puranuta lo makdiminan. Yeah, that we're not earlying a bad thing. We're postponing it. Okay, that's the reason the Gemara gives why we, in such cases, fast on Sunday. So what we see here is the 9th of Av and the 17th of Tammuz can occur on Shabbat. They can occur on Shabbat. B, writing Shabbat, meaning no one even thought, let's say that I'm waiting a little bit. no one even thought that in the 9th of Av, no one even thought that in the 9th of Av, if it occurs on Shabbat, even though it's a Tisha B'Av, that we'll fast on Shabbat. That's clear that Shabbat is overriding the fast, even Tisha B'Av. The only fast day that can occur on the calendar on Shabbat and we'll still fast, what fast day is this?
Kippur.
Obviously,
Yom Kippur.
Yom Kippur. If Yom Kippur happens to fall on Shabbat, then we'll fast even though it's Shabbat. But all of you understand the distinction. Yom Kippur is a fast day, is the only fast day that is D'oraita, right? And the rest are rabbinic. And they're not overriding Shabbat, rather Shabbat overrides them. So what's unique about Assara B'tevet is that that's the only fast day that happens on a Friday. Now we know that, let's say when Tanis Esther falls on a Friday, then we won't fast on a Friday. So it's interesting, how come we maintain the fast day even though it's on a Friday, and then we enter Shabbat when we're hungry? It seems that there was a desire to avoid this, let's say, as far as Tanis Esther is concerned. Now, the first analysis that we'll do in this shir after this intro is, even though I said that Assara B'tevet never falls on a Shabbat according to our calendar, theoretically, let's say Assara B'tevet would have fell on Shabbat, would have occurred on Shabbat. Would we fast on Shabbat? Let's say when they sanctified the moon at the times of the Mishnah, when there was no set calendar, then theoretically Assara B'tevet could have occurred on Shabbat. Would we fast on Shabbat? So what's the intuitive answer?
No.
No. And even let's say, as Harold says, no, it's a flat no, and it's because it's a Kal V'chomer. If Tisha B'Av, which is a much stricter fast day, if Tisha B'Av, when the 9th of Av occurs on Shabbat, yeah. All right, thank you. At any rate, we don't have any fast days on Fridays aside from Assara B'tevet. Okay. Now, I'll just to clarify, this year, according to our calendar this year, just to remind me, we have Purim HaMashulash this year. That means that Tet Vav is on Shabbos, or Yudal, or what I just don't remember. What is, according to the calendar this year, what falls on Shabbat? 14th of Adar or 15th of Adar? Anyone remembers here?
15th. Yeah, the 15th. The 14th never falls on Shabbat.
15th.
The 15th is on Shabbat. Okay. So now, okay, great. So now, I just want to go on and say, at L'chora, what Harold said is very straightforward. It's a Kal V'chomer. If the 9th of Av, when it falls on Shabbat, we don't fast. We postpone the fast day for Sunday. Then obviously when Assara B'tevet theoretically falls on Shabbat, let's say at the time that we sanctify the moons, then obviously Assara B'tevet shouldn't override Shabbat. That's very clear. But here we have a surprise. And now I'll share with you the source sheet, and we will try to, okay, let's see. So we all see the screen.
Yes.
Let's read the Abu Draham. Abu Draham, this is a book written by Reb David Abu Draham. It's a siddur from medieval times. Abu Draham is a very important Rishon. He lived in Spain in the 14th century. Okay, so let's see what Abu Draham says. Abu Draham says the following. I'm reading. I'll read immediately immediately in the Hebrew, in the English. So the Abu Draham says the following: there is a distinction between the 4 fast days. There is a distinction because the fast days are postponed when they are falling on Shabbat. And now look at what he says, surprise. Aside from Assara B'tevet, that never occurs on Shabbat, but it occurs sometimes on Fridays, like our here, and then you fast on the Friday. And now look at what he adds. And even if it would have occurred on Shabbat, even if the Assara B'tevet in Yechezkel, the verse is that's the term that is written in this very day, just like, and it's the same terminology like Yom Kippur. Regarding Yom Kippur, we have this term, be'etzem hayom hazeh. As you know, be'etzem hayom hazeh is a term meaning be'etzem means in this very day. Be'etzem hayom hazeh, in this very day. This term appears in the Torah by the Mabul, be'etzem hayom hazeh. This term occurs regarding Exodus, be'etzem hayom hazeh hotzi Hashem miMitzrayim. And halachically, this term, be'etzem hayom hazeh, the emphasis in this very day, it occurs regarding Yom Kippur. Regarding Yom Kippur, they say be'etzem hayom hazeh, the Torah says. So the Abu Draham points out to that interesting fact that regarding Assara B'tevet, and we'll soon see it in Yechezkel, only regarding this fast day, aside from Yom Kippur, does the Bible use the term be'etzem hayom hazeh, in this very day. So since there is an explicit wording here of in this very day, therefore, says the Abu Draham, Assara B'tevet, if it falls on Shabbat, let's say at the time of the Mishnah, then it's not postponed. Wow, meaning in this sense, it seems that the Abu Draham claims that Assara B'tevet, surprisingly enough, is more strict than Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av, if it falls on Shabbat, it is postponed because there is no reference in the verse be'etzem hayom hazeh, in this very day. But Assara B'tevet, it's written regarding this fast day, be'etzem hayom hazeh. That's a tremendous, tremendous chiddush. Now let's continue the Abu Draham. And the other fast days never happen on Fridays, just like it was said here. The other fast days are never falling on a Friday. Now, look, perhaps, because Assara B'tevet, according to the Abu Draham, because even if it would have fell on Shabbos, Shabbos wouldn't have been postponed. Perhaps because of that reason, perhaps when it could fall on a Friday, and we didn't set the calendar, they won't fall on a Friday. Other fast days, we don't want them to fall neither on Shabbat, but also not on Fridays. Maybe there is a connection between the two. Because if it even overrides Shabbat, then definitely it overrides a Friday. Now, continue to read the Abu Draham. The Ode, Yud Gimel Ba'adar, the 13th of Adar, meaning Tainus Esther, that happens to fall on a Shabbat, then we early it to Thursday, that is Yud Aleph. So here, this is what I was really meaning to say. Okay, do you all listen? Meaning, I said that what happens if Tainus Esther falls on a Friday, and then there was the comment here, which is absolutely correct by Benny. He said, "What do you mean? Tainus Esther never falls on a Friday," and he was right according to our calendar. That Abu Draham says the same thing. But what happened with Tainus? Not like our year when Tainus Esther happens to fall on a Shabbos, meaning Purim is on Sunday and Shushan Purim is on Monday. The year, the Tiny Esther is on Shabbos. Obviously, we don't fast on Shabbos, just like in Tisha B'Av, we don't fast on Shabbos. But as opposed to Tisha B'Av and Assara B'tevet, that the fast day is on Sunday, postponed, moved forward. In the case of Tanis Esther, it is moved back, it is earlied, but not to Friday, to Thursday. So you see that we're trying that the fast will not be on a Friday. Okay, you could say, well, since it's not already the same date, then we do prefer to early it even one day more. That's a good thing. At any rate, we see that there is a point to avoid a fast day on Friday also, because we don't want to enter Shabbat fasting. But regarding Assara B'tevet, we don't say that when it falls on a Friday, not only because it's this date, but especially because according to the Abu Dram, in principle, if Assara B'tevet falls on a Shabbos, then it's not postponed, because it's written just like Yom Kippur, Be'etzem hayom hazeh. So let's complete the Abu Draham. Let's complete the Abu Draham here. So, and the 13th of Adar, when it falls on a Shabbat, we early it to Thursday, because we can't postpone it to Sunday because it's Purim. And in Friday, we can't also fast because of the Slichos and the Tachanunim, all the prayers of the Slichos and the Tachnun that we're doing in Tanis. And it's not appropriate to do so in Erev Shabbos, because then you can't, because you need to prepare for Shabbat. So, okay, he says a different reason than what I said, not to enter the fasting. He says just that on Friday, we prefer that you'll have time to prepare for Shabbat. This is the reason I found the Tshuva of the Gaonim. The rest of fast days, when they fall on Shabbat and even Tisha B'Av, we postpone them. The Abu Dram here says, the Abu Dram here says a tremendous chiddush. The Abu Dram says that Assara B'tevet is different than all the other fast days, the rabbinic fast days. In Assara B'tevet, it says, Be'etzem hayom hazeh, in this very day, just like Yom Kippur, and therefore it is not postponed when it falls on Shabbat, as opposed to Tisha B'Av. That's a tremendous chiddush. This assumption that Assara B'tevet is not postponed even when it falls on Shabbat, and Kippur. How is he learning it from Yom Kippur? Is it Gzeira Shava? You can't do Gzeira Shava like that. So he just learns from the concept, and still a tremendous. B, that I would say that Shabbos, we have a mitzvah of Oneg Shabbos. So how is one allowed even to fast on Shabbat? So this is what is said here. Now, let's look at the verse that he is referring to. Let's read the verse in Yechezkel. Here, I'm reading it to you. Vayehi dvar Hashem elai b'shana atziit b'chodesh asiri asor l'chodesh lamor. And Hashem spoke to me at the 9th year, in the 10th month, and in the 10th day. Ben Adam, write this, the name of this day, et etzem hayom hazeh, samach melech Bavel Yerushalayim be'etzem hayom hazeh. So twice it's written here, the term, like Yom Kippur, be'etzem hayom hazeh. But please note that this verse is not talking about the fast. This verse is talking about the event, right? It says, Hashem tells Yechezkel, right, this very day, that in this very day, he's living in Babylonia, Yechezkel, and Hashem tells him, in this very day that you're now in Assara B'tevet, the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, is doing the siege, the Matzor, on Jerusalem. All right? So the term be'etzem hayom hazeh is referring not to the fast, it's referring to the very day. This is still enough for the Abu Dram to say that just like Yom Kippur, the stress is in this very day. So since regarding Assara B'tevet, it says in this very day, therefore, even if it falls on Shabbat, you fast on Assara. That's a tremendous chiddush. We'll see that the Rishonim disagree with the Abu Dram. It's a famous chiddush of the Abu Dram.
How are you?
But the Rishonim what?
I'll tell you what I'm using you. I would like to have 3 numbers with a date I can use as the testing ground.
Bill, you need to go on mute. We can hear you talking on the telephone.
Okay, sorry.
Did someone want to ask a question? Okay. At any rate, the Rishonim with it. I'm sorry, I was disconnected. Probably a problem with the internet. Does everyone hear me? Just
Oh, yes.
Yes.
okay.
Yes,
So
but Phil, you need to go on mute. We can hear you. No, you're not.
Oh,
Now you are. We could hear you talking on the telephone earlier.
okay, it's okay. So I started saying that this tremendous chiddush of the Abu Dram, that Assara B'tevet is overriding Shabbat, because it says there be'etzem hayom hazeh, this tremendous chiddush is not accepted by the rest of the Rishonim. And let's see that. Even though people like to quote this Abu Dram, but the Rishonim disagree with it. Let's see Rashi in Megillah. Rashi in Megillah says, the time of Atzei Kohanim and Am. What is that? In the Tractate of Tanit, says the Rashi, there were families of Israel that they had set dates in the year that was their turn to bring wood to the temple in order for the Mizbeach. And they would bring an offering with bringing the wood. Now, if the date that this family was assigned to, if it fell on Shabbat, then they would bring it the next day, on Sunday. And the same, says Rashi there in the Mishnah, Tisha B'Av. The Mishnah says Tisha B'Av T'chal Liot B'Shabbat. The Mishnah there in Megillah says that both the wood offering that we just explained, and also Tisha B'Av, when it falls on Shabbat, we do it on Sunday. And then look at what Rashi adds here. Vehu adin leYudzayin b'Tammuz uleAssara B'tevet. Rashi says here, as a side remark, Rashi says here explicitly that if Assara B'tevet falls on Shabbat, then just like Tisha B'Av, you will fast on the Sunday. All right, so that's directly against the Abu Dram. Abu Dram says, I learned from Yom Kippur that when it's written be'etzem hayom hazeh, this very day, then you can't move the fast day. And it's a tremendous chiddush because he makes an analogy to Yom Kippur. There is a big distinction between the two, but that's what the Abu Dram says. Just like in Yom Kippur, it says in this very day. In Assara B'tevet, it says in this very day. Therefore, if it falls on Shabbos, you don't move it. And it's different than Tisha B'Av. Comes here Rashi and says here explicitly, and as a side remark, that just as Tisha B'Av is pushed to Sunday, the same regarding Assara B'tevet. Okay, let's see Maimonides in the 5th chapter of Hilchos Tanit. He says here, but one of the four fast days that happens to occur on Shabbat, we postpone it to after Shabbat. So here, Maimonides doesn't do any distinction. He says one of these 4 fast days, the 4 fast days are Tisha B'Av, Assara B'tevet, Yud Zayin B'Tammuz, and Tzom Gedalia, the 4 fast days of the destruction. This is what Maimonides speaks about here. And he says regarding all 4 of them, that when they fall on Shabbat, we postpone him to Sunday. So both Rashi and Rambam, 2 giants, disagree directly with Abu Dram's Chiddush about Assara B'tevet. And of course, they intuitively make much more sense. Why should Assara B'tevet be more strict than Tisha B'Av? Rabbi Weiss, Rav Asher Weiss, comments, and the same appears in the Meiri and in the Kolbo and the Maharil, that in all of these 4 fast days, if they occur on Shabbat, they are pushed to Sunday. Yeah, Assara B'tevet included. So we see here the Abu Draham, tremendous chiddush about Assara B'tevet, because it's written in Yechezkel in this very day, Be'etzem Hayom Hazeh. We see that a whole group of Rishonim reject Abu Draham. Let's see what says Rabbi Yosef Karo with the Beit Yosef. So the Rabbi Yosef Karo quotes the Abu Draham, and look at what he says. And what he wrote, that if they fall on Shabbat, they're postponed after Shabbat regarding the other fast days. It's written in the Mishnah of Megillah, and he quotes here Rashi that says, Huadin Assara B'tevet. Okay. All right. And Maimonides says the same. So the Beit Yosef quotes the Rashi and the Rambam that we have just seen. Okay, now let's see what he also says. Uvechaliyot Erev Shabbat. And what happens if the fast days fall on a Friday, like in our year? So he wrote, this is the halacha in the Gemara in Eruvin. There is a sugya in the Gemara in Eruvin regarding fast days on Friday. And there is a machlokas there, whether you complete the fast. Listen to me, because this is what happens, tackles practically this year. The Gemara in Eruvin discusses a case where someone has a private fast day. And the Gemara there asks, Anis Yachid, he has a fast day, he accepted upon him a fast day. Now let's say it's on Friday. Does he complete his fast day, or he needs to eat?
You're frozen again.